Welcome back to the homestead, everybody. We got a cool video for you today. It is stifling hot in our greenhouse. Even when it's 63 degrees outside, it's probably 85, 90 degrees in there. So we got to control the temperature in this greenhouse, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Rig it up, I guess. Whew, thanks. All right, so we got the shade cloth laid out along the side of the greenhouse. Now the idea is we're gonna take our wiggle wire, which is this stuff, and it's PVC coated, which is nice, or rubber coated, whatever's on here. It helps to not tear that shade cloth. And we cut all of ours in half, and we're gonna space them every 4 feet inside this C-channel right here. Obviously, we already have wiggle wire in our C-channel. That's what's holding the plastic on. But that's how we're gonna get the shade cloth on.
I'm looking this way because you're picking that wiggle wire right next to my eyes.
Yeah, don't get caught with it. So all you do is maneuver this wiggle wire in this C-channel. It's super simple. Not much to it. That's why this C-channel on a greenhouse is amazing stuff. And the last one goes in with a little coercion methods assistance. There. All right, we got our first wiggle wire in. We're gonna space these evenly kind of across the side to start with, and then once we stretch it over, we'll kind of see where we need more wiggle wire at. So we're gonna do this just like we did the plastic. So in this case, I'm gonna take a rock. We used tennis balls before, but we're gonna go with the whatever's available. You just wrap it. This is just to ensure that you're not gonna tear anything. And then you take your rope, tie it off, and then now you have like this area where you can pull pretty hard on and you're not going to destroy the fabric or whatever. So we're going to take this rope, throw it over, and look at the front side first because we didn't leave ourselves too much length. All right, that's fine. Good? Good? Okay, so let's go through some of the benefits of adding a shade cloth to your greenhouse. Why do you want to do it? Starting with the most obvious one, and that's heat reduction. You can drop the temperature in your greenhouse up to 20 degrees, which might initially not sound like a huge drop in temp, but I can assure you when you're out there working in the heat, sweating, melting, it gets painful when you have nothing blocking you from the sun. So that's number one, just the simple fact that you can drop the temperature in your greenhouse, make it a more accommodating environment for you to work in. Bam, right there. There's your number one. And that in and of itself is a good reason to do it. All right, we got our wiggle wire in about every, I don't know, we skipped about 7 feet in between wiggle wires. I have extra wiggle wire. I could come in and fill these little spots in, but that looks good. And we got one line stretched over. So we're gonna do one more in the middle, one more on the far end down here, and then we'll pull all the fabric over. All right, we got all of our lines hooked up and we are ready to pull. So we're gonna have 3 people on that side, a couple people on this side, making sure our shade cloth is not getting caught. And we're gonna pull this thing up and over. And the next benefit is gonna be season extension. So the really cool thing about shade cloths is by dropping that temperature, you can extend the growing season of some of your cooler crops like lettuces and that type of stuff. And yet another benefit is, say you have a plant that you want to put in your greenhouse that needs indirect light of some sort. It doesn't benefit, it actually gets damaged by too much direct sunlight. Well then, here's your solution. And I know I'm not the only one that has watered their seedlings in the greenhouse, and you come back 30 minutes later and they're bone dry. So we can actually offset all of that water usage just by adding a shade cloth. It is all up, and all I can say is, wow, this thing looks great. We got the white version instead of the black version. Bootstrap Farmer makes a black version of this, 30% shade and a 50% shade. We got the white 50% shade. And the reason I did that is because, as you can see, we got houses all around. We're in a residential neighborhood, and I didn't want a huge black cloth on top of our greenhouse. That's fine for a farm, but in our case, since we're in the neighborhood, I wanted to make it so that it looked halfway decent. And it looks great. And it was super, super easy to put on, which that's encouraging. All I could think was of the flashbacks that we had and putting the plastic on. The plastic is a way different bear because it doesn't let wind through. So you have this kind of wind movement as you're trying to put it on, and it's just way harder. So we are gonna wiggle wire this far side over here, and then we're gonna wiggle wire our end walls, and we should be all done. Guys, super simple. I can't believe it. I can already notice a huge difference in not only the temps, but the shade. It's when you're in a greenhouse, you have that constant battering of the sun on you. It just zaps your energy. And it's just not fun to work in a greenhouse that is not shaded. So thanks to Bootstrap Farmer, we have this thing all hooked up. We're gonna finish off the wiggle wire, and then we'll be done for the day. And probably the most exciting out of all of the benefits that a shade cloth can give you is pest reduction. When a plant becomes too hot, it can become stressed and unhealthy. And we all know that unhealthy plants are like a bedding ground for pests. And so we want to remedy that as much as possible. And that's one thing that a shade cloth can take care of. So after all of those benefits, what are we getting out of using a shade cloth? We're getting lower temps, but ultimately I think what everybody's after is better yields, beautiful looking plants, and just an ideal growing condition. Because honestly, that's why we build our greenhouses. That's why we spend all this money on greenhouses, is to get an environment that is ideal for growing plants in. The last thing you want to do is spend all this time, money, and effort into building a greenhouse and then have to remedy more problems when the greenhouse is done. Okay guys, that is it. We are all done. Shade cloth is on the greenhouse. Super excited about this. Now we don't have to melt every time we go in the greenhouse. We can work on the flowers and do whatever else we're doing in there, taking care of our plants without having a heat stroke and passing out, because that's never a good thing. You don't want that. Thanks to Bootstrap Farmer for the shade cloth. And guys, if you're looking for one of these, no matter how big your greenhouse is or little, they have what you need in white or black. I'll leave links in the description below. You can go check them out. Man, they got pots and all sorts of things for your gardening needs. So go check out Bootstrap Farmer. Awesome company, great people, American made, love them. And last but not least, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to it, and hit all, and you'll receive all of our notifications when we release videos in the future. Subscribe to our other social channels, and we will see you in the next video.